Davin, and I apologize if I'm not saying it right. Is it David? Davin? David. Oh, David, I think it's you.
Oh, me?
Sorry, I couldn't read your handwriting. I apologize for that. It's embarrassing to say that.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Mr. Mayor.
You're quite welcome, sir. And again, I apologize.
That's okay.
State your name.
My name is David Beistel. I live at 129 Panelier Drive in Monroeville. I know Ms. Gatos. What I'm here about is, I have some notes in it, but I'll be brief, hopefully, because my wife says I can talk an arm off a wooden Indian. But I am vehemently opposed to this police force that the Gateway School District wants to install in our schools. I moved to Monroeville 30 years ago because it was a multiracial, multicultural, multi-ethnic community. And I wanted to raise my children in a school district that was apropos to what the real world's like, you know, because with technology today, there are no borders anymore. And today, this afternoon, I got a copy of, well, I went to the first school board meeting July 21st when they initially petitioned the court. And I had written an email to the school board opposing it on the grounds that I don't think guns make you safer. And they were going to put armed policemen in 4 elementary schools where previously they had no security at all. And now they want to hire an 11-man police force and arm every officer. They're going to hire retired police officers. And I'm just going to highlight briefly what Judge O'Reilly, who denied their request, said briefly. And I went to the second meeting recently to tell them not to appeal the judge's ruling. Because from what I've researched and I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to the police chief, and I've talked to a couple of contacts that I have in the high school. And one teacher was at my house in July and said, I asked him, quite frankly, I said, what do you think of this new police force? And his one-word answer was insanity. I've talked to another teacher that I have a relationship with, and he said that Officer Kondrack was well-liked and well-respected. He was a school resource officer. He had the right training. He had a gun. He went to all the schools in the school district. And now we're going to add 11 armed policemen. And in the judge's ruling, he said, you know, when they initially filed the petition, there were 2 school board members, 2 policemen, and a human resource officer from Gateway. And there was no opposition because I found out about this in the newspaper. And I think it behooves the council and the community to have some input into this. At the second meeting, they talked about school uniforms, advocating for school uniforms for the Gateway School District. And they want to talk to students, parents, teachers, administrators in the community. But they didn't ask the community to put guns into schools. What happened to the idea of schools being no gun zones? And the judge makes some very fair points. Briefly, he said that a social science aspect of, they didn't invest, you know, the 2 members of the school board talked to policemen. And the 2 policemen that they took to the petition are two policemen that they subsequently hired. So it just boggles my mind that we're going to put armed policemen in our schools. And our enrollment in our schools are dwindling. Our tax base is dwindling. Our, you know, older people like me live in Monroeville. My kids are already through the school district. And I think doesn't behoove us to put armed policemen, and I ask you to use your political knowledge to talk to the court or talk to the school board and work out a compromise. I mean, I'm not opposed to security. I want you to know that right up front. And I'm not opposed to guns. You know, I'm not an anti-gun nut. And I just think that this needs to be seriously considered, and I think the community should decide on this police force, not the 7 members on the school board who voted for it. And that's the thing that irked me the most, was that I sent the entire school board an email stating my qualifications to comment on this item in the first place, and I received 2 responses. One was, thank you for your input, and the second response was a scathing email that said, you know, thanks, but no thanks, and, you know, you're advocating another Sandy Hook, which is the farthest thing from my mind. And then I'm sitting in this meeting, and I'm sitting next to Dave Palermo, an ex-policeman from Gateway, who has 28 years of experience as a policeman, and I said to him, you've been a cop 28 years, how many times you pull your gun? Once. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And the judge clearly says it's not a good idea. There's only 2 school districts. There's 8 guns in all of Allegheny County in all the schools. I think East McKeesport has 2 armed officers. Somebody else has 2 armed officers. And there's 4 other officers, so there's 8 total in Allegheny County. If we add these 11 policemen, that police force is going to be larger than most of the municipalities in Allegheny County. And we're adding an additional independent police force with the right to arrest, to issue citations, to detain people, to seek warrants. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you.
I have a copy of the judge's ruling if you
No,
want.
we all have it. We all have it.
Oh, you all have it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.